So I was having this conversation recently with my friend and my coach, Kara Alwell of the Champagne Diet, and I'm now her coach as well, which is just a really cool setup that we've created. I'm not saying it's something that would be a good idea for anyone. She and I have a combined over 20 years of experience of doing this and coaching thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So we're able to have great boundaries and switch on and off about it. But we had this really cool conversation of what we're no longer available for. Instead of sitting there going, okay, these are my intentions for 2023. These are what I want to manifest. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we wanted to start with what we're no longer available for. And I think that's going to be something that's easier for some of you to determine and get you closer to what you do want to call in, what will give you a sense of fulfillment and purpose and wonder and joy and excitement and enlightenment in your life, is by starting what no longer is serving you, what no longer is working for you, what you are no longer an energetic match for. Because at different times of our lives, things, people, circumstances, jobs, clients, programs you offer, products you offer, even the clothes you wear, even your hairstyle, they serve you at that time. Even if it doesn't always feel good, you're getting something from it, and it's time to shed before we go into 2023. It's not just time to accumulate more. Let's shed some things to really allow the true intentional space for the stuff that you want. So I couldn't resist. I don't know if you guys are champagne drinkers at all, but Dom Perignon came out with a really amazing collab in about 2008 with Lady Gaga. And it's this like metallic pink box. It's a total vibe. Well, now a 2008 champagne is worth a shit ton of money. And I saw this bottle and I was like, I have got to get this for her. This is happening. I'm sending it to her. And I'm sharing that because I can do that. That's when I talk about like freedom level cash, FU money, limitless option money. That's true wealth, where you could see something that you know is super luxurious, that hit the nail on the head for a friend, for a client, even for an acquaintance, for a stranger, for a significant other. And you can just press the button and send it. And I wasn't worried about the price. And this was definitely like, you want to savor every sip. Let's just say that. And so I wanted to write a card. I'm like, God, I've got to write something that goes with this. It's got to be pretty damn good. And so I poured myself a glass of champagne. And I was like, okay, like, what would the Tiffany say? What would the Tiffany say that's already in the vibe that she wants? What would the Tiffany say who's not available for any more bullshit, any more less than, any more low vibe stuff, any more playing small? What would she write? What would that woman say to her friend? Here it is. We are the top shelf. We are the special edition. We are the highly coveted. We are irreplaceable. Cheers to attracting the best of the best and settling for nothing less. Love you so much. I've put that as a quote in my Instagram post today. So if you want to take it, share it, spread the abundance, you can also take it and print it. You can make it as your wallpaper on your phone. I put it in the I format, so you're reminding yourself. And this goes along perfectly with today's episode. You'll see why. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash-making advice. Now let's get to it. The secret separate to manifesting money on a larger level. Now, to simply say statements and affirmations, proclamations, vision boards, all this stuff, it is not enough. We've all done it, and most of us have done it buzzed this time of year. We proclaim what the new year will bring and how we're going to magically transform into this fresh version of ourselves simply because the current year is almost behind us. I wish it were that easy. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking of all the New Year's toasts I've done, the vision boards I've made, the conversations I have around this time of year. And they're very fun and they give a lot of dopamine and even adrenaline surges and excitement and hope and possibility. And it feels so good. It's like, it feels so good, but there's a come down from it. Because if you don't set yourself up for the follow through and you don't actually have a strategy to make sure things are in order so these things do come into fruition, so these things do manifest into reality, you're going to have what I call the February emotional hangovers. And I'm telling you, it happens every single year. And when I started ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and business coaching company 4.5 years ago, I really started noticing it. I could tell in the corporate world, but there's so many layers of crap in the corporate world to get to someone's true heart. This is why I love so much working with the actual founders of a company, the builders of the brand, the creators of the products. I'm getting right to the person, to the heart, to the emotions. And it's like February comes and it's like, oh my God, I don't even know what happened to January. And maybe some stuff was done. Like maybe they did the dry January, didn't drink in January, started working out a little more. But there really was no major progress in the stuff that scared the shit out of people. And I noticed this pattern, which is why all the episodes through the end of this year are all dedicated to help set you up so that, and you have to do the rest of it. I'm just giving you the direction, but you have to take the execution to set it up so that 2023, you ain't playing, okay? I want you to even say that out loud or in your head right now. I ain't playing. It's just that it's the vibe of saying it. Please be done. Or if that's not if you don't like that phrase, say, I'm done with this. And not in a nasty way. I'm just done with this bullshit. I'm done with my own bullshit. I'm done with stepping in my own way. I'm done with playing small. I'm done with settling for less. I'm done with just being convincing myself I'm content with an average life when I really want something so much more. And I know I'm meant for more and I keep shrinking myself down. I'm done with this. Let's be done with this and then set things up in a different way. So I can't tell you how many times I did a New Year's toast around leaving my corporate career and starting my own business or being done with toxic relationships, only to flash forward to that mid-February emotional hangover time of not having taken any serious action. Setting intentions, goals, resolutions, manifestations without clear accountability and major action will all end up in the same place, a place I call the land of lost dreams. This is the place where everything your higher self desires goes to be put on hold until you, quote, feel ready, are more prepared, or the timing is better, or you have more money, or you've gotten further along. I recently heard say something, and I'm calling him out with love. I don't think he'll mind. He also probably doesn't fucking listen. And I found it so interesting. I do study the people around me, and it's mostly without judgment. It depends if I'm how cunty I'm being that day. But I found it so interesting that he's the person who buys all the workout equipment, expensive shit, around this time of year, and it makes him feel good, and then he doesn't use it. He's also the person who tells himself all these things that he's going to do this, that, or the other. It's normally around fitness. I'm like, you are the exact person all of these marketers are totally targeting to buy all this stuff, and then there's no follow through. And I go, I asked, and I've asked this for a couple years. I said, why don't I get you a personal trainer like I have as a Christmas gift. And not because I'm saying you need to do something, but then at least you're forced to show up because I know you're someone who doesn't like wasting money. And his response is, I would only get a trainer and a gym membership. I need to get in better shape first. And I said, so wait a second. You're telling me in order for you to even join a gym and or to have it, because I even went further, I was like, have the trainer come to the house. And it was like the same excuse. I need to get in better shape before I do that. So you're telling me you need to get in better shape before you hire the person who's going to help you get there, hold you accountable, and show you how to do this so you don't get injured. And this is what I hear, the wild shit I hear you guys saying. Oh, I'll apply for Tiffany's 2-month private business coaching program once I'm making more money, once I'm further along in my business, once I have more time, once I really know what I'm doing, once I get some certification. It doesn't make any sense, especially the money part. It's like, no one comes to me unless you're an established entrepreneur looking to scale to the 6 and 7 figures, which I coach those people as well, right? They have money to invest back in their business sitting right there. So I have those people. But the people who are my newer entrepreneurs between $0 and $10,000 a month, you're not making the money you want to make. You're not sitting on heaps of cash where you can have a coach all the time and without even thinking about it, invest, and it doesn't affect your lifestyle and doesn't really scare you. Now, let me say this. The benefit of being in your spot, if you're someone who's in that spot where you're making on average, like I said, I would say you're making under, maybe you're at like 100,000 a year, 120, or you're at 0 with your business or somewhere in between. The beauty of that spot is when you join one of my programs, my mastermind, you apply to work with me privately, you're in the posse, you're putting down an amount of money where you have to show up because you don't just have, you're going to notice that amount is what I'm trying to say. You're going to notice that dollar amount. This is why I only join very high-end like yoga studios and gyms, is because I don't like wasting money. It's one of the principles that I teach in terms of law of attraction, right? If you don't treat your money with respect by not utilizing the thing that you buy, or if you're not utilizing it, then gifting it or giving it away to someone else, that's not good. You're not going to be given more of something you're not respecting. So it makes me show up. This is why I always have multiple coaches at a time. It makes me show up and follow through. This is why I hired an event planner for my mastermind. Do I really need an event planner for a mastermind? Because it's not something that has 500 people, which there will be a live event soon, by the way. That's going to be on a much bigger scale. But do I need that? No, I don't need that. Why I did it is because it makes me show up differently. And yes, does it take some work off me? Sure. But it makes me show up differently. If I'm going to be investing this kind of money, I can't be slacking. I need to get my ass in gear. I can't fuck around. I can't put stuff off. And therefore, I end up making a lot more money. So either you are stacking the deck in your favor, so stacking the odds in your favor, that your intentions for 2023, your resolutions, your goals, your desires, you're either stacking it and setting it up so they will actually manifest into reality, or you're stacking it for more self-sabotage and disappointment and nothing happening, and then another year goes by. I can say this with this much conviction because I fucking did that. For 10 years, I wanted to start ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and the coaching brand. 10 fucking years. And time goes by very fast. And I had another company, so I already had money coming in from there. So money, that's why I'm saying like money can't always be the only motivator. I already had a nice lifestyle. I wasn't seeing the true level of abundance that could come in from doing something that I genuinely obsess over and love. I had a block there, so there was that going on. But I would join programs. I would read books. I would do the toast. I would put things up on my mirror and say that I'm doing all these and cheers to friends and ask people to hold me accountable. But it was sneaky. I never did anything major to where I was setting it up, so I had to show up, to where quitting wasn't an option, to where procrastinating wasn't an option, to where putting it off wasn't an option. I didn't put enough skin in the game. Buying a URL, okay, that's a nice step. I'm down with that. But what is that? Like $11? That's not going to do it. It wasn't until I paid a web designer 10 grand, hired a podcast producer. I paid my coordinator, Nancy, who's primarily works for my other company, which is my business I've had, my multi-seven-figure business I've had for 15 years now that does digital marketing and branding in the medical, pharmaceutical, professional space. So I've paid her to then be a coordinator, so I had all this money going out, and I paid $3-4 grand for a top branding photographer. So I had all this money going out, and I set it up to where you've got to make that back, sweetie. This is not some vanity project. Like, didn't have some rich husband that didn't care if I made it back as long as I was like busy and happy. Like, I had to make it work. And therefore it did. And that's the catch, is that you have to set things up so they have to work. The problem that happens with my established entrepreneurs that come to me is it's already working. They already have the clients coming in. They already have the lifestyle. They already have the cash. Usually why established entrepreneurs come to me, number one, they know that they need to have at least one coach going on all the time to manage the mental gymnastics in the brain, the fear. They understand the deal. That's going to make them show up in a bigger way and expand past all of their resistances. But it's usually because they also want to get time back. They're fried in some area. It's not working. It's not working how they want to work. They've hit a bump. They've hit a ceiling where they're like, okay, I'm at like 300 a year. 400 a year. I can't, but like, how are you getting to how are you getting to seven figures? How are you getting to multiple seven figures? And because they don't have as much on the line as those of you who aren't making the money yet, and them spending money on me, even at a high level inside of my private coaching container, that's not even enough for them to go, God, I've got to make this work. That's not that they notice the money, but it's not enough to scare them. What scares them is the accountability I provide and the respect. They're not going to blow off things that they've committed to doing for me. They're not going to blow off tweaks and different things we're working on in their business to make more money flow and systems to work better, because they don't want to let me down or seem like an asshole to me. Does that make sense? My winter applications are open right now. We start in January. So if you want to set yourself up so all the stuff you're saying you want actually happens, apply. We'll see if it's a great fit to go where you want to go and get the results that you desire. But my question to you would be, if you aren't going to do that, if you aren't going to take a scary action where you know you're going to be held accountable, where you know you're going to get the guidance and direction and support that you need and the business love that you need, well, then what is your plan to make sure you're going to follow through and not end up in the emotional hangover land in February because your stuff is in the land of lost dreams? You're going to do it based on self-will alone. Well, how has that worked for you before? I've already done that. I've done that. That does not work. that 10 years of telling myself, and I'm someone who's pretty self-driven, I'm tenacious, I'm resourceful. I'm also highly lazy, and I'm not a type A person. A lot of people assume I'm type A. I'm more like a type Z. I'm not type A. I don't get off on working all the time. I don't get off on having 5,000 things going at once. You know what I get off on? Luxuriating, creating more and more space in my schedule, having freedom to pick up and go on a trip when I want and not worry about how much it costs and not be tripping out over my schedule the whole time I'm gone. That's what excites me, and making more and more of an impact on millions of more people. But what are you going to do? How about you set things up differently this year in a way that will get you the results you desire? How about that? But the catch is it is scary as hell, and I'm very well aware, but use that fear. Use that fear to fuel you forward. I can't believe I was able to say all those F's in a row on 3 sips of coffee. That's pretty impressive. I want to give you another example. And those of you who are new to the show, you might not be aware of this story or new to me, but when was it? September of 2021. And this was scary for me. Even though I have millions in the bank, it doesn't matter. We all have different thresholds of spending, plus money equals safety and security to me, which goes back to my PTSD and being a survivor of abuse. And there's a whole mixed bag in there. So even if you have the money, that doesn't mean it's not scary. I just want to point that out. So I have always dreamed, and it was on my vision board for many years, of having an oceanfront beach house. And my house in Calabasas was going under a major luxury remodel, and I'm not available for it. I'm not into it. I don't want to be around. I don't want to really actually be part of it. I want to leave. I want to make some choices on certain things and then arrive back when it's done and enjoy it. It's just, those home remodel shows stress me the F out, but I like it as long as someone else is doing it. Anyway, I wasn't going to live there. There's no way. You can't have a podcast studio in that kind of construction. And I went, you know what? Most people would go get an apartment or even like a house that's kind of nearby the other house, and they're really careful about it not being too much money because you're just renting it. And I went, no. I know remodels take always way longer than they're supposed to. I also knew there was the demise of my relationship going on. I was not going to be in a divorcee complex, as I call them. And y'all know what I'm talking about, where it's like all the people who didn't get the house or who had to leave the house all go to this complex. Not into it, not available. No, thank you. So I went, you know what? Let's just see. Let's see if I can rent an oceanfront house in some of the best beaches in California. Let's see if I can do that. And it was wild. I mean, it's $15,000 a month. Okay. And it wasn't some giant place. If I wanted some big fucking place, it'd be like 45,000. So it was 15,000 a month. And I was like, oh my God, my annual salary as a newscaster was $17,000 a year. This is 15,000. Who the fuck do I think I am? All my shit came up. And I went, no, I'm going to make this work. I want this. This is going to happen. And this will also make me show up differently because I have to make it work. Not out of scarcity. Not like, oh my God, I bought all this shit and now I have to pay for it and I'm in debt. I wasn't going into debt over this. But I knew that there would be a great return on this investment because I was like, oh my God, I could have an in-person like 2-day mastermind here that would help pay for it. And this can be a tax write-off for my business because I can make it a content house. And all these ideas started coming to me and solutions started coming to me on how I could easily, at the very least, break even on this place. And not only did I break even, I had my highest year ever. And then 2022 was even higher than that. And then I ended up getting an even more luxurious ocean view beach house When we think differently, different ideas and solutions come to us. When you're determined, I'm going to make this work. I want this to happen. This is happening. This is happening. How can I make this work? How can I get creative? What could I do to help at least break even on this? What can I do to ensure that I'm going to get my return on investment? And yes, I had the conversation with myself, the worst case scenario. Okay, so let's say I didn't get the return on my investment. Would I you have to honor your commitment and obviously pay whatever, contract you do. And I was like, well, of course I can pay it. I won't like it, and that's not going to happen. But $15,000, I was there. What was I there for? 9 months. And now guess what? $15,000 a month is normal to me. That's normal. And that's a secondary home, and that's normal. It's become normalized now because now I also know how to monetize it. And what happened is when you step into that next level abundance version of you and you take the risk and you do the thing, it's incredible how the universe matches that energy. And you can say it sounds like bullshit. You can say it sounds self-serving for me to say this. You can say it's woo. You can say all this stuff. But I'm telling you, without a doubt, I've got the receipts. And that's why I gave you this story and this episode. Swipe up the link to apply for my famous 2-month private business coaching program. That is right inside the show notes. I only take a max of 6 private clients at a time. So for whatever level you're at, it's the same application. I keep things very simple around here. We like simple and straightforward. We don't do things that are hard and a lot of work just for the sake of doing them. We don't have to do that anymore. It gets to be easy. It gets to be fun. It gets to be fulfilling. It gets to be exciting. It gets to be all of those things and more. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.